Well, hello again. I was having my breakfast this morning and I had a look at this video that Ross Coulthart, I think it was on News Nation, Ross Coulthart and Danny Sheehan. And Ross Coulthart is saying, what a steaming pile this AARO report is. We've got a direct first-hand witness that's provided them with photographs of alien spacecraft. And then cuts to Coulthart says to Danny Sheehan, tell us this story. You know, Danny Sheehan, he's sitting there, he's got a book visible next to him, you know, something about UFOs, Richard Dolan. So he's been filling his head with all this UFO flying saucer nonsense for a long time. And Sheehan tells this story of back in 1977. He asked for some of the secret Blue Book stuff that wasn't released. He wanted to see some of that, and they said, "Yeah, okay, why not?" So he went to this building, and there's a couple of guys at the door, asked to see his ID, 2 forms of ID. You know, he didn't actually say they were men in black. I've actually got a Blues Brothers T-shirt, Jake and Elwood. You know, we're on a mission from God. But I couldn't find it. I don't know what's happened to it. I'll see if I can find it for next time. You know, visits from Jake and Elwood. Are you? Do you remember the scene in the film? Are you boys from the FBI? No, ma'am. We're musicians. Anyway, there's 2 guys standing outside the building, and they see his ID. He says, "Yes, you can go in." You know, the building's completely empty. It's not occupied yet. Straight out of the X-Files, he has to go down to the basement, which is unlit. Why did I think an unlit basement would have to come into this somewhere? And he can see it glow in the distance. This is the room he's got to go to. So he goes to this room, and there's 2 more guys in there. 2 more suits, he describes them as. Doesn't say they're black suits. I suspect that's coming. And they show him these boxes, and you help yourself. You look through all these classified Blue Book files, and he looks through there and he finds some photographs. And he describes these photographs. He said it's a winter scene. There's US Air Force personnel there. A camera with the 2 big reels on it. So it's it's from the 40s or 50s. That sort of suggests, doesn't it? Pardon me. Just got some Coke off screen here. And he describes the scene. It's a flying saucer sticking out of an embankment at a 45-degree angle. It's got a dome on top. It's all flying saucers in science fiction in that time period. That's how they looked. They were a saucer with a dome on top, you know. He didn't say there was a little green man in there. It's normally how they're drawn, isn't it? It's a saucer with a glass dome, a little green alien in there going Anyway, he sees the saucer, pictures of the saucer sticking out of the embankment. This is straight out of a science fiction production by the sound of it. Personally, I don't believe this at all. If it happened at all, it would have been to wind him up, just to see how far they could convince somebody that this was real, somebody in the Pentagon or whatever, someone actually in the Air Force intelligence, you know. Let's just see if we can convince someone like Danny Sheehan that this is real and set this up. We can't see the pictures, of course. No, we've got no idea what the provenance of these pictures are. Oh dear, it's all ludicrous, isn't it? It's absolutely ludicrous. And Ross Coulthart is saying this destroys the AARO report. Of course it doesn't. And Danny Sheehan said, "Oh yeah, well I traced these symbols I've never seen before, written on this spacecraft, and I traced them." We don't get to see the symbols. And the fact that it's an unlit basement, a room at the end of it's just all straight out of the X-Files. Personal opinion, I think it's a complete and utter load of rubbish. The pictures prove nothing whatsoever. We haven't seen the pictures. It's probably from a TV series or a movie set. I'm not that far across science fiction to know what movie that might have come from. But there would have been a lot of stuff in the 40s and 50s with saucers and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, and I mean, Ross Coulthart loves this story. It kills the AARO report. No, it doesn't. He says, and he says to Danny Sheehan, this would make you a first-hand direct. This would qualify as first-hand direct witness evidence. Do you think someone showing him some photos from 10 or 20 years before, this was in 1977 in a basement, would qualify as first-hand direct witness evidence? What exactly is Sheehan a first-hand direct witness of? A couple of photographs that could have come from anywhere. First-hand direct witness evidence to me is someone that works on the project, photographs of them working on the equipment, them holding a sample of something from the spacecraft that's tested by different universities and verified to be extraterrestrial material. Then I'd say, yeah, okay, that guy is a first-hand direct witness. And the evidence that he's providing is first-hand direct witness evidence. But these bloody stories, you can see why Sean Kirkpatrick said all it is science fiction stories from the same gang that have been spreading these science fiction stories for years. Sean Kirkpatrick would think the same of that story as I do. It's nonsense, isn't it? It doesn't disprove anything. The name of the video on News Nation, this disproves AARO's report. Doesn't disprove anything. It's a story. It's another science fiction story. And that's all this is. There's no substance to any of it. That's what the AARO report says. That's what Sean Kirkpatrick said in his Scientific American article. It's nothing but science fiction stories from a core of people that have been spreading these stories forever. The Danny Sheehan story is no different. I saw some pictures of a flying saucer sticking out of a cliff, And of course, the flying saucer, the alien spacecraft he describes is exactly what you would see in science fiction of that period. Round saucer with a dome on top. That just does not cut it as evidence, let alone first-hand direct witness evidence. It's nonsense, isn't it? It's time for these guys to put up or shut up. If you want to disprove the AARO report, let's see something tangible. Everyone is sick and tired of these science fiction stories. It's the science fiction stories that are a steaming pile, And apparently Gary Nolan said that he didn't actually say that the little Atacama alien, the one that was being peddled by Richard Dolan and Stephen Greer as an alien, was made by an alien. Apparently he never said that. So I did actually say in the video that I did yesterday that I would apologise to Gary Nolan if that turned out to be the case, because I hadn't actually seen him say it. I did a video a few days ago where there's two clips of Gary Nolan telling his encounters. And I've actually seen these, I made a video about it, so I know he said it. He was being interviewed by Ross Coulthart. Ross Coulthart said, "Can you tell us anything about your experiences with E.T.?" And he said, "Yeah, when I was a paper boy, I was riding my bike, I rode under a tree and there was a light and there was a shadow." I thought, okay, well, this is hardly groundbreaking stuff, is it? Anyone got 60 minutes on speed dial? And I thought, okay. Next thing you know, he's done another interview. Now this is after the Coulthart interview, and they say to him, "What experience have you had with E.T.?" And he said, "Oh, when I was a kid, I had these little aliens at the bottom of the bed." Well, that's far more exciting than seeing a shadow and a light, isn't it? Why didn't he tell Coulthart that when Coulthart asked him what his experiences with this sort of thing were? That's a far more interesting story, isn't it? Gary Nolan said when he was a professor, when he first went to Stanford, there's an alien at the bottom of his bed, spoke to him telepathically. in his head, in English. So I'm sure you'll forgive me if I don't take Gary Nolan too seriously. And that was why I thought, well, it's a sort of codswallop he could come out with. You know, if he's going to come out with aliens at the bottom of the... I mean, it's not quite fairies at the bottom of the garden, but it's not far off it, is it? Aliens at the bottom of the bed, you know. No, I really don't think so. Personal opinion, I think load of rubbish. Absolute rubbish. So having heard Gary Nolan say that, I thought, well, Gary Nolan saying that this Atacama thing was human DNA, but it could have been made by an alien, I thought maybe he might have said that. It's the sort of thing, you know, yeah, if I'd have seen him say it, I wouldn't have been surprised. Put it that way. So it continues to fall apart at the seams on the side of the ET piffle peddlers. They've got no idea what first-hand direct witness evidence is. If this is the sort of first-hand direct witness evidence they've been presenting to AARO, no wonder AARO say there's no evidence. It's all science fiction stories from people that have been peddling this nonsense for years. So I mean, they're pushing back, but I mean they're pushing back with a rice pudding. You know, they've got nothing. There's nothing there. Tangible evidence. Push back with something tangible. I said before, Ross Coulthart, you know, he said, I know where there's an alien spacecraft. It crashed outside the US. So big they couldn't move it, put a building over it. I'm not going to tell you where it is. What sort of investigative journalism is that? Well, if you see this video, Mr. Coulthart, why don't you leave in the comments below, tell us why you won't tell us where that is. Why you don't take some people there and show them it. Take a film crew, Spotlight, TV channel, 60 Minutes, whatever, to this place and say, right, this is where there's an alien spacecraft. It's in this building. And then open the building up and have a look. If there's an alien spacecraft in there, it's all over, isn't it? All over, Red Rover. Case is proven. You know, obviously you'd need samples of it to go to different universities, and they'd have to confirm that it's actually an extraterrestrial spacecraft, not a movie prop. You know, Millennium Falcon, old fiberglass Millennium Falcon in a warehouse isn't going to cut it. Or you know, big fiberglass Enterprise or Battlestar Galactica. And just as an aside, I think probably the most realistic science fiction spacecraft is Battlestar Galactica. I think that's probably the most realistic looking. I think if an alien spacecraft turned up, that's what it would look like. And you know, when it's purposeful, you know, with the different with the two decks on either side, where you could launch shuttlecraft or fighter planes or whatever you want to launch. It's a big box. It doesn't need to be aerodynamic. When they first started talking about Oumuamua, you know, I thought, well, you know, a big long thing, you know, some Battlestar Galactica. But when it was talked about in the media, we've got this big thing, you know, what is it? Could it be an alien spacecraft? Everything else it turned out to be a rock. But if it had turned out to be an alien spacecraft, everyone would know about it. It would have been huge news. Avi Loeb would have got a Nobel Prize, wouldn't he? You know, so I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever that all of this would be covered up. If an alien spacecraft, they're not going to crash here anyway. It did crash. It would be big news. It would be impossible to cover it up. It'd be on every television channel. Everyone would be out there with their iPhone, live streaming. You know. So it's complete and utter nonsense, you know. And as I've said before in previous videos, you know, even the dimmest of dimwits is now thinking, well, you know, they're probably not going to come here and crash, you know. So now suddenly they don't crash; they're gifting fields, you know, gifting fields. The aliens are crashing stuff into the planet all over the place, all these different countries, gifting fields, so that we can analyse it. And we can reproduce the technology, and then we can go to their planet and destroy them and move in. That really makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Well, it's not going to be too long, I don't think, before the dimmest of dimwits are going to realise that, you know, there's no gifting fields, there's no crashes of alien spacecraft. It's all science fiction rubbish, just as the AARO report says. I mean, the dyed-in-the-wool UFO fanboys are never going to accept any answer other than it's all true, it always has been. ET's here, we're back engineering alien spacecraft. That's the only answer they are interested in hearing. They're not interested in the truth, they've made their minds up. You know, Danny Sheehan's, the book in the background, Richard Dolan's UFO, has been filling his head with this ET rubbish for decades. What else was there? Oh, finally, Kremlin Jones apparently has done a video in response to my AARO report pushback videos. I came to the conclusion that Kremlin Jones lives in cloud cuckoo land. Everything he says is complete and utter nonsense. It's not worth looking at or listening to, so I won't be watching it. I formed this opinion ages ago, you know, when he skipped over that comment that I left, when he said, no, you're wrong, everything I said in that comment was correct. And I thought Jones is a complete waste of time. He lives in cloud cuckoo land, he's got no grip on reality, everything he says is complete and utter rubbish. So I'm not going to waste my time watching that video. That was just a quick tack on there. Was there anything else? So I'll make some more comments if I see some other interesting stuff around the traps. As I say, normally I'll get up, get some cornflakes or whatever, you know. I'll start looking at 2 or 3 different YouTube channels and see what's news in the ET world. Of course, this News Nation thing come up with Coulthart saying, "Oh, the AARO report is a steaming pile." And I thought, maybe he does watch my videos, because the expression steaming pile is not common in the Australian vocabulary either. So maybe. But if you watch this, Mr. Coulthart, put this to bed. Show us the alien spacecraft that's got the building over it outside of the US. Doesn't matter if you're never trusted again. He'll say, well, I can't because they'll never trust me again. Well, they don't need to, do they? Because once it's proven, it's proven. One alien spacecraft, and it's all over, isn't it? One genuine, bona fide alien spacecraft, game over. It's happening, it's real. So Coulthart doesn't need all these contacts he's got that, remember, have their TV shows, and you know, a number of them are involved in that Skinwalker Ranch claptrap with the dino beavers and the werewolves. Complete and utter drivel. And Lua Elizondo, of course, unexplained. You know, these people have got to tell you that the AARO report is rubbish to protect their nice rosy incomes. They're doing TV shows, they're doing talks, they're selling books, they're selling DVDs. You know, the AARO report is complete and utter rubbish. You can hear me tell you that if you like. That'll be $2,000, please. I'm appearing 7 o'clock tonight in the town hall at the Alien Con, appropriately named Alien Con. The AARO report, yeah, complete claptrap. This way, sir. Yes, that's $2,000. I'll give you the details later. AARO report, complete and utter garbage. You, madam? Yes, it'll be $2,000. Yeah, I'll see you later, and I'll explain it all to you. Complete and utter rubbish. Okay, well, I think that's today's rant over and done with. But I think Mr. Coulthart, as an investigative journalist, really should be able to tell the difference between what Gary Sheehan is telling him and first-hand direct witness evidence. I mean, Sheehan should know that. He's a lawyer, isn't he? He should know it's no such thing. Actually, I haven't watched all the video. Maybe I should. Get buried under a pile of subpoenas. You can't say that, mumbling. Good heavens, man, you're going to lose us all our income. All right, as always, if you've struggled through the video all the way to this point, many thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you again.